Hey YouTube, Joeboy here. So, today I want to talk about PEKOMS Sulong transformation. And so guys, starting with chapter 888, we got introduced to the concept of the mink transformation of Sulong, and we actually got to see Carrot transform. And the question on a lot of people's minds really at the time, something that I think a lot of people are looking forward to, is obviously if Carrot can do this, then other minks can transform as well. And Carrot looked kind of majestic, so you know, what would it look like if, for instance, Nekomamushi or Inu Arashi transformed, or even something like someone like Pedro, if he were alive, what would he look like? And then we sort of delved into the meme thought of PEKOMS, the kind of a ridiculous looking character. What would he look as a Sulong? And so it's pretty blatantly obvious that at some point in time we will see someone like Inu Arashi or Nekomamushi transform, and several of the other minks that are planning to play a part in the Wano arc or the Kaido arc. But when we're looking at characters that are likely to transform in the Whole Cake Island arc, aside from Carrot, who has already transformed, the only mink that is still presumed to be alive and capable of a transformation is, of course, PEKOMS. This was all about a couple months ago. And then I think promptly everybody forgot that PEKOMS was in Whole Cake Island, and that we're still in the middle of the night and it's still the full moon. So even now, as we see PEKOMS in the last chapter, it's possible, being that it is the full moon, for PEKOMS to transform given the correct circumstances. And so for this theory, I want to give a huge thanks to @AdityaPhoenix on Twitter for reminding me of this theory, and specifically noticing something from the last chapter, which Oda decided to draw in and could act as a bit of foreshadowing. Which is in the last chapter, as we see the Big Mom Pirates gathered around the mirror that Luffy is supposed to come out of. Oda specifically draws, in the middle of the sky, in the middle of the panel, the full moon. And so I want to be completely transparent. There is nothing that directly foreshadows that PEKOMS will transform in Whole Cake Island. Just because there's a moon drawn on a panel, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's the middle of the night. The moon is very symbolic, typically speaking. Also, just in general, it adds a bit of ambiance to the scene, and that could just be all Oda was going for. Simultaneously, this could also just simply foreshadow the idea that perhaps Carrot will transform again in Whole Cake Island. Oda is reminding us of the moon not because of PEKOMS, but because of Carrot. When it comes to whether or not PEKOMS will transform in Whole Cake Island, for me it seems very much dependent on whether or not you want to believe that is going to occur. Because I really don't feel like there's anything that's really forces you to think that, other than it's a possibility. But as I sit here telling you that there's nothing conclusive and that it's all essentially based on belief, I will say at the same time that I do believe that at some point in Whole Cake Island, PEKOMS will transform. And the reason why I believe this is actually very, very simple. I believe in a lot of things that just make for a great story. All I really need is to believe that it's possible and be able to rationalize a situation in which it might be able to occur. When it comes to Whole Cake Island, what I want more than anything else, specifically as we get closer and closer to what is perceived to be the end, I just want to see interesting things happen. But I think that there is a little bit more which sort of justifies this perspective that perhaps I think that a lot of people aren't really focused on at this moment. And so we brought this up in several videos recently, but I'm going to do so again here because it is extremely relevant. PEKOMS right now is going to die at the end of Whole Cake Island. Based on how things are currently, all the relationship between the Big Mom Pirates and the Strats, everything that these Strats have done against the Big Mom Pirates. Remember, PEKOMS was the one to lead them here in the first place. PEKOMS is a traitor. And the Big Mom Pirates know that he is a traitor. This was confirmed in chapter 834, where Tamago essentially confirms to us or tells us that his expectation is that PEKOMS will be executed. And in fact, this is the same perspective shared by Capone. Remember, Capone tried to recruit PEKOMS to assassinate Big Mom, and I believe that he did this because he knew that PEKOMS was going to die. Basically, if you want to survive, join my cause. That's why Capone captured PEKOMS. Capone believed this was PEKOMS' only way of survival. You betrayed your crew. If you love life, then assassinate Big Mom with me. Everyone believes that PEKOMS is doomed. And so it's very easy to forget about PEKOMS' story throughout, over the year that we have been in Whole Cake Island, but nothing has changed. The reason why he hasn't already been imprisoned and or executed is because he went missing. And by the time that he showed up again, Big Mom was having her tea party, the Strats ended up crashing their tea party, there's all sorts of other events going on, and PEKOMS is not a priority. But if things end, if Whole Cake Island ends the way that it is currently, with nothing changed, then PEKOMS will be executed. That is what we are being led to believe. And we are also being led to believe through PEKOMS' own dialogue that he would accept this execution. That's just the kind of guy that he is. The Strats did something for me, I did something for them, and I'm willing to accept the consequences of my actions. In fact, I won't even hate my crew for doing it. And so guys, what I really want to explain here is what I perceive to be, at this moment, PEKOMS' mindset. Just like everyone else, I do believe that PEKOMS fully, 100% expects to be executed by the end of this arc. And even more importantly, he is completely fine with it. His objective right now is solely to get these Strats out of Whole Cake Island because of 1, what they did for Zoe, and number 2, because of his bro Pedro. I believe that in his mind, this is his last real objective, last real thing that he will accomplish before he dies. I don't believe that he wants to become a fugitive of the Big Mom Pirates and run away because he's scared. That doesn't line up with his character for me and all of his actions. If PEKOMS was that kind of guy, he would have in the beginning joined up with Capone in his plot to assassinate Big Mom, and if he really didn't want to assassinate Big Mom, would use that as some kind of opportunity to try and escape. But PEKOMS is far too honorable for that. So once he achieves this objective of helping the Strats, he would then quietly return to the Big Mom Pirates and accept his punishment. This allows for, at this exact moment, PEKOMS to become a very sacrificial character. Somebody who would, at this moment, do things that go against his best interests. Like, for instance, trying to help Luffy get out of the mirror world. And so guys, this is the scenario that I have in my mind, right? So we see that PEKOMS is taking Luffy to a mirror or something or other. He's going to help in some way. He's going to view what occurs with Sanji attempting to rescue Luffy. And I think to myself, does it make sense for Oda to just allow PEKOMS to watch them? Is PEKOMS literally going to sit there and watch them through whatever struggles that they might have, whatever, hitches in their plan, just watch the entire time, watch them sail off, and then sort of just quietly turn himself in? Is Oda going to make PEKOMS do absolutely nothing else, aside from secretly lead Luffy to a mirror? From a story perspective, that does not seem interesting to me. If PEKOMS is already sold that he will die, and he sees Luffy struggle, 100% I expect PEKOMS to try and help him. That is, PEKOMS will expose himself to all of the Big Mom Pirates, further confirming that he is in fact a traitor that deserves to die. And so then I think to myself, in what ways could PEKOMS help the Strats escape? And obviously he could just fight normally, but why wouldn't he use the full moon and become as strong as possible to guarantee the Strats escape? When this theory has come up in the past, a lot of people bring up the fact that, well, PEKOMS wears sunglasses, so he would need a reason to take his sunglasses off to transform. And number 2, people bring up, we don't even know if he has mastered these transformations. It's quite possible that he wasn't trained or wasn't skillful at this, and essentially seeing the full moon would be a death sentence because he wouldn't be able to turn it off. And in both of these criticisms of the idea, this scenario addresses them and the problems that they have. If PEKOMS can't turn off Sulong, it doesn't matter, because he already expects to die anyway. And PEKOMS now has a reason to take off his sunglasses if he intends on helping the Strats, and is really not concerned with further outing himself as a traitor. For me, there's no reason why this cannot occur. And in fact, as I said earlier, I would tend to believe it because I just think that it's a more interesting take on what PEKOMS could do. In many ways, I think that PEKOMS' mentality and his actions could mirror earlier situations we've seen in Whole Cake Island, like for instance when Pedro decided to sacrifice himself for the Strats, and the same is true of Pound. PEKOMS really could intentionally sacrifice himself so that they leave. But before he does this, he would need his moment in the story, and I can't think of a better moment for PEKOMS than to transform into Sulong and become the majestic beady-eyed lion we've all been waiting to see. But as always, curious what you guys have to say about this, whether you agree with me or disagree, and why. Just share your thoughts. Like the video if you like the video, dislike the video if you dislike the video. Make sure to subscribe if you want to be notified for my future content. And as always, guys, have a wonderful day.